Rayne is famous for its frogs and frog murals. Once a small settlement, the community was relocated in order to be closer to the railroad that was coming through. Back then, priests would travel through these communities not served by a church.
I mean, a family may not have seen a priest for years and years and years, and when you go there, they would baptize, they would marry, they would bury all at the same time, and that sort of thing.
St. Joseph Catholic Church had been moved from the original Poupeville community. Charles Sidney Stutz says back then, moving a church wasn't an easy task.
The bishop called it a gospel wagon, in the sense that they had the logs and the oxen and what have you, and as they rolled through town, it took an extremely long time to eventually get the church here. And in the church tower here still is the old original Poupeville church bell. It says Poupeville, Louisiana, 1880, which is when they moved the church here, and it still rings today.
The cemetery sits just south of the church. At first glance, you wouldn't notice anything unusual. If you didn't know, most Christian burial sites place the body in an east-west orientation. So when Christ returns, those rising from the dead will be facing east. St. Joseph's Cemetery has a north-south orientation. There are several theories of why this happened, but nobody knows for sure.
The early burials here were done in the ground. And a lot of these things, a lot of these crypts that you see here now are just buried over them, over a period of time. You see that sort of thing. There was no effort made to change once it got started.
Yeah. And the names tell the rich history of Rayne and Louisiana.
George Clinton Mouton was the son of Alexander Mouton, who was a governor of Louisiana. You see that sort of thing.
Like the Alexander Mouton house in Lafayette.
That was his son. You see, and so if you go through some of these older crypts here, you find all of the original names of the first settlers of Rayne and whatever.
As these cemeteries age, family members pass on or move away. Some burial spots have gone untouched for decades. Mayor Chuck Robichaux knows it means too much to the community to let it go.
There's so much history here that we don't realize. You could probably spend weeks or months walking through here and stumble across a family member or someone here that no one's ever heard of in our era that is a big part of why we're here.
Most burials today incorporate the cost of maintenance.
And this church, as old as it is, as long as it's been here, is trying to incorporate those things, but it's kind of after the fact. And it's very hard to get people to pay for things that was never agreed upon when they first bought their plot.
A partnership with the church paying for materials to renovate the graves, Public Works to help drainage on the city's land that surrounds the cemetery, and the Rayne Police Department using its resources for labor. He'd love to see others in the community volunteer as well.
And then we need to get maybe the schools involved and make it part of an outing and spend a little time and help take care of the graveyard and a little community pride, community service. And the end result's going to be a beautiful cemetery that the elderly can come, that are handicapped to visit their loved ones. When someone dies, it's a sad moment, but to preserve their memory through taking care of their last resting place, and of course this is the body's resting place, the soul goes elsewhere. The real creative history is right here in these old cement tombs.